Kathy's not here.
She is.
Is she? She's back there. Okay, thank you. All right, we're on? We must be.
Yes,
Here
yes, we are.
Great. So we're back in session. It's just a couple minutes after 7. It's still November 19th, 2015. Last we checked, we're still the Newmarket School Board. I say all that because the board came into session at 6 o'clock and we reviewed our capital improvement plan with members of the administration. And we just recessed for a couple minutes. We welcome a very crowded room. All right, it's not that crowded, but it certainly feels good. We like to have people join us. Why don't I ask everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you just joining us, we are minus one member tonight. Al Zink was unavoidably detained and unable to be with us. We look forward to him joining us again when we meet next. We have a couple of presentations that involve students tonight, and I can't tell you how overjoyed I am. It's the reason that we do what we do, and so it's nice when they join us. I think first up, unless you guys have arm wrestled for it otherwise, is a group called Youth to Youth, and that organization has a presentation tonight, and I am ill-prepared, so I just shout to the room. Somebody representing Youth to Youth, tell me what to do next. Chris is going to help me. Thank you, sir.
So I asked for Youth to Youth to come today. It's a student organization. We're going in fourth year? Third year. So this will be their third year that we've been active. We got a presentation 3 years ago at the middle school level from Dover, Youth to Youth. And what it is, it's about drug and alcohol awareness, tobacco awareness. And they do a lot of significant events. And I'm not going to give a lot away because their presentation will do it, but they're getting more and more memberships about being drug and alcohol free, not just in our school, but in our community. And we're seeing a lot of that, with what's going on. So the message has been getting out. Tonight you have Ms. Malsbury and Ms. Alderaji, who are their advisors, and they meet once a week to talk about different things. But Caitlin Temple is a freshman, and she's been leading this group for 3 years and done a fantastic job. And she has 3 8th graders with her here tonight, Matea, Katie, and Alex. So they're going to talk to you about what they've done and what they do. And when you see this, it's pretty neat. They get better and better every year, and they'll discuss exactly what they do. So thank you.
All right, so I'm Caitlin. Like he just said, it's my 3rd year doing the program, and Alex?
I'm Alex. This is my 3rd year doing the program.
I'm Kaylee. This is my 3rd year of doing the program.
And I'm Matea, and this is also my 3rd year in the program.
And we're Newmarket Youth to Youth, a part of the Granite Youth Alliance of the Greater Seacoast area.
Who we are and what we do. We are an anti-drug and alcohol group for teenagers. Our target are middle schoolers and high schoolers. We're a student-led group, but our advisors are Ms. Alderaji and Ms. Malsbury.
All right, so what do we do? Every year, should I move?
Keep talking. No, you're doing great. I'm going to move the microphone so I capture them better, but keep talking.
So every year we do a series of events. One is one of our bigger events. It's our film festival at the end of the year, where we create videos along with other people in, or other organizations in the Granite Youth of the Greater Seacoast area. We make PSAs, mostly for radio coverage. We attend summer programs this year. During our summer program, we held a protest in downtown Dover against e-cigarettes. We go to local businesses and put stickers on alcoholic beverages with information about underage drinking. We do skits and presentations like we're doing right now. And to the elementary school kids about abusing prescription drugs, like don't take your parents' medicine type thing. We run Red Ribbon Week, which is like a spirit week at our school, where we do a series of events throughout the week and bring our message out there to middle schoolers mainly, and we're trying to get that into the high school as well. And we go to conferences every year, which we attended last week.
So that's the picture from the Granite Youth Alliance conference last year, and Chucky from Chucky's Fight, he came and presented to us how his sons had passed away from heroin overdoses, and he presented like their struggle with their addiction. And then this year, I couldn't go to the conference, but the 8 other members had gone, and Chris Sullivan from the Patriots had came and talked to them about and presented, and so did his wife. Kathy. Yeah, his wife Kathy. She seems like a very nice lady. That's our video the first video that we made for the 2014 film festival, and it's about marijuana abuse.
Why? To feel happy? To look cool? To fit in the end. Honestly,
It's just not worth it.
addiction, lung cancer, emphysema, death,
It's just not worth it.
birth defects, brain damage, bronchitis, lower IQ,
It's just not worth it.
loss of happiness, loss of memory, loss of concentration, loss of coordination.
It's just not worth it.
Marijuana ruins lives. From the kids you knew in preschool to the people you know now. Don't let drugs ruin your life. Stop while you can. Better yet, don't start. Enjoy your life. Live your life.
Save your life.
Can I just say something? What they're not telling you is they wrote and produced that entire film. The first year that we got together, and we got together in March, and that took place in May. So they did a fabulous job.
Since that last video was so short, it actually might have been considered a PSA, but the next video, that one right there, is 5 minutes long, and it's about what parents should be asking their children before they go out other places.
Hey, how was your day? It was okay. But I was actually going to ask though if I could hang out with your friends later today after school. Alright, sounds good, but who's going to be there? It's just going to be a few close friends. Alright, can you get a ride? Because me and your daddy going out to dinner. Yeah, I'll definitely be able to. Yeah, I can. Okay, great.
happening? Who's driving you there? When will you be home? Who exactly will be there? Will there be alcohol or drugs? Will the parents be home? What's a number I can call?
The reason I called you down here to the police station is that we found David at an underage party where he was drinking alcoholic beverages. So David has been arrested by the police department, and we're here. We've got to go through the booking process, which consists of fingerprints and photograph. We have to contact the bail commissioner, which he'll be released on $40 bail. That's just the bail commissioner fee, with his good faith that he's going to show up at court. So it'll be personal cognitive bail. After that point, he'll be given a court date for the future to show up to, and at that court date, he can either plead. The court date is the arraignment. He can either plead guilty, pay his fine. He'll probably get community service or something as well due to his age, or he can plead not guilty, and then we will have. In a future date, we'll have another trial where the state says our side of what happened and he defuses it or wants to say his side of the story. So, like I said, it's going to probably take 20 minutes to get his fingerprints as well as his photographs, then he'll be released back into your custody. And that'll probably be it. Do you have any questions or anything? Do I have a choice as to whether or not she gets released?
Shock right now.
Yeah, most parents are when we call them at this hour.
I apologize that you have to deal with this. You know, it's happening. We can stop it now, and hopefully, you know, this will teach her a lesson. And I'm sure, you know, you as a parent are going to have some. She'll be talking to us. Do you have anything you need to ask?
That's outstanding.
So recently we had a presentation to the middle school, and we had them take this pledge to live a healthy and substance-free life. And it goes like, we, the students of Newmarket Junior Senior High School, agree to join together to prevent ourselves and our peers from making the wrong decision to abuse substances such as tobacco, marijuana, alcohol, heroin, or any other unhealthy drug. We pledge to keep this promise in order to make our community safe, healthy, and drug-free.
Our goals this year are to do a play for the elementary school students called Samantha the Skunk, which is about abusing drugs, a sticker shop at a local convenience store. We already have attended one conference, and we plan on going to another one in the summertime, in spring. We're planning on going to the elementary school and having a presentation for our 5th graders. We're going to apply for a film grant for the film festival and do the summer program, and we also do a monthly bulletin board, and this month's message on it is about the harms of tobacco.
At the end of our presentation, we had the middle school, we offered if the middle school would like to join Youth to Youth, and we gave out applications to the people that wanted to, and overall we ended up with 15 new members of Youth to Youth. And this is also a picture that we took this year at the end of our Red Ribbon Week, and the people who wore either red shirts or red pants got to be in the red ribbon.
All right, and in our community, there are a lot of other events and discussions taking place about the heroin and drug epidemics in our town. There's actually one going to be November 23rd from 7 to 8 p.m. with Chris Placey from the New Hampshire Council for Substance Abuse at our high school. And there will also be a monthly talk or discussion starting December 16th and going until May 18th, also at our school with Chris Placey from 6:30 to 8. And yeah, thank you. And do you guys have any questions?
All right, so there's got to be a couple quick questions. Like you said, 9th grade and 8th grade, but you guys have been doing this for 3 years. So it was initially a middle school initiative. When you said that you got 15 new members, what grades are they in?
6th and 7th.
6th and 7th? So we finally had some success in making sure that this is going to have longevity and last for a while, because there's some younger That's great.
We actually got 2 high schoolers too. We have 1 senior and 1 other freshman that joined this year. So there were over 25 people in the group.
That's outstanding. Excellent. Thank you for what you're doing. You know, because of the community attention being paid to this and all the other programs that you just talked about, that it's important to all of us in the community. So thank you for that work that you're doing, because I'm sure you can have a greater impact on your peers than all of the talking that we adults can do. So, anything else from the board? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tonight I also have a senior seminar with us. Chris, you want to help me with that one too?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we have 4 students coming from senior seminar, Aaron, Sarah, Cam, and Adele. Senior seminar is a graduation requirement. We started it 3 years ago, and again, it's to talk about public speaking, get our kids prepared for, the real world, whether it be college or a job, and looking at their world and how it impacts them. And this group, it's really evolved from the first year we put it together. Miss McGilvery, one of our social studies teachers, and Miss Garino, who is a high school English teacher. They teach this class and they teach different sections. And again, every student has to take it. But this class really evolved out of an assignment they were given to look at something and look at change. And this group came together and has come up with a significant change that affects Newmarket. They've had the opportunity to already present it to myself and to Mr. Fournier, and now they're presenting to you. And it's a really neat initiative. And this is what Ms. McGilvery and I, when we created this class, really wanted to see our seniors start doing, taking on senior projects and how they're going to lead change. So I hopefully I've prefaced it well enough, and you guys can take it over and get into your speech from there. It should be right up on your PowerPoint, should be on there.
Yeah, my mouse doesn't work. Mouse, you asked me to turn it off.
Can you move the microphone to the middle?
Hey.
All right, I'm Aaron.
I'm Cameron.
Sarah.
I'm Adele.
Newmarket has become a hub for food, living, and culture in Seacoast, New Hampshire. Unlike many of the surrounding towns, Newmarket is a place of aesthetic and historic beauty. Recent downtown renovations are a source of pride for locals as well as a destination for visitors.
The newly redeveloped mills have breathed new life into the dormant colossus that once provided jobs to the majority of the town. It seems the only thing Newmarket is missing is a well-designed flag. Different flags advertising businesses and products are scattered throughout the town, but there is no flag representing Newmarket. A Newmarket flag would not only represent our town's past, present, and future, but also unify our townspeople.
One of our assignments in senior seminar class was to share a TED Talk and discuss why it was an idea worth sharing. I chose a TED Talk titled The Worst Design Thing You've Never Noticed because I felt it was very interesting. When it was over, the class felt inspired to create a flag for our town. Here are the guidelines we used.
5 basic principles of flag design.
According to the North American Vexillological Association. Vexillological.
Vexillology is the study of flags.
It's that extra lull that makes it sound weird.
Number 1, keep it simple. The flag should be so simple that a child can draw it from memory.
Before I moved to Chicago in 2005, I didn't even know cities had their own flags.
Most larger cities do have flags.
Well, I didn't know that. That's Ted K, by the way.
Hello.
The flag expert. He's a totally awesome guy.
I'm Ted K. I have edited a scholarly journal on flag studies, and I'm currently involved with the Portland Flag Association and the North American Vexillological Association.
Ted literally wrote the book on flag design.
Good flag, bad flag.
It's more of a pamphlet, really. It's about 16 pages.
Yes, it's called Good Flag, Bad Flag, How to Design a Great Flag.
And that first city's flag I discovered in Chicago is a beaut. White field, 2 horizontal blue stripes, and 4 6-pointed red stars down the middle.
Number 2, infuse meaningful symbolism.
The blue stripes represent the water, the river, and the lake.
The flag's images, colors, or patterns should relate to what it symbolizes.
The red stars represent significant events in Chicago's history.
Namely, the founding of Fort Dearborn on the future site of Chicago, the Great Chicago Fire, the World Columbian Exposition, which everyone remembers because of the White City, and the Century of Progress Exposition, which no one remembers at all.
Number 3, use 2 to 3 basic colors.
The basic rule for colors is to use 2 to 3 colors from the standard color set: red, white, blue, green, yellow, and black.
The design of the Chicago flag has complete buy-in with the entire cross-section of the city. It is everywhere. Every municipal building flies the flag.
Like, there's probably at least one store in every block near where I work that sells some sort of Chicago flag paraphernalia.
That's Wet Moser from Chicago Magazine.
Today, just for example, I went to get a haircut, and when I sat down in the barber's chair, there was a Chicago flag on the box that the barber kept all his tools in, and then in the mirror, there was a Chicago flag on the wall behind me. When I left, the guy passed me who had a Chicago flag badge on his backpack.
It's adaptable and remixable. The 6-pointed stars in particular show up in all kinds of places.
The coffee I bought the other day had a Chicago star on it.
It's a distinct symbol of Chicago pride.
When a police officer or a firefighter dies in Chicago, often it's not the flag of the United States on his casket. It can be the flag of the city of Chicago. That's how deeply the flag has gotten into the civic imagery of Chicago.
And it isn't just that people love Chicago and therefore love the flag. I also think that people love Chicago more because the flag is so cool.
A positive feedback loop there between great symbolism and civic pride.
5.
So the flag of the city of Chicago epitomizes a well-designed flag, and the flag of Milwaukee doesn't so much. So in our research, we discovered that according to the North American Vexillological Association, the New Hampshire state flag is on the list of top 10 worst designed flags in North America. So we have designed 2 very similar flags that symbolize different aspects of Newmarket as a town and a community. The water wheel represents the old mill. The red represents the brick that so much of our town is made up of, and the blue represents the Lamprey River, and the gold represents our agricultural past as well as our present and future community ties.
One of the takeaways from the TED Talk that we felt strongly about was why a flag matters to a community.
The effort to try to change that. As we move more and more into cities, the city flag will become not just a symbol of that city as a place, but also it could become a symbol of how that city considers design itself. Especially today, as the populace is becoming more design aware, and I think design awareness is at an all-time high. A well-designed flag could be seen as an indicator of how a city considers all of its design systems, its public transit, its parks, its signage. It might seem frivolous, but it's not.
Often when city leaders say, we have more important things to do than worry about a city flag, my response is, if you had a great city flag, you would have a banner for people to rally under to face those more important things.
Think about all of the good and bad times throughout the history of our nation when we have rallied around a flag. Local issues, such as whether a new school facility is necessary and other growth concerns, have caused division in our community. We propose that having a flag that symbolizes all of the things that our town has to be proud of could serve as a unifying force when facing the resolution to serious and often costly issues. As soon-to-be graduates of Newmarket High School, we would like to leave something behind. This project represents our pride in and love for a community that has given us so many opportunities. It is our way to say both thank you and see you again soon, Newmarket. And when we find our way back home, we hope to see our town flag flying. We appreciate your time and consideration.
I love the idea.
Awesome.
You see why I love having the kids come? Like that?
Well, it just makes sense. It does make sense. We have been through so much, and to have that one thing
we're trying to be together and work together as a town. That'd be a great symbol.
And I love the symbolism in the design, too. The multiple
Thank you.
facets of it all.
That is no small thing you guys have done. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us more about how you're taking this town by storm with this flag. Obviously, you're wearing it tonight. That's a real good touch. Chris said you've already presented to the town administrator.
Yes.
Is he wearing it tonight, or go find him? Do you have more on tap? Are you headed other places?
Yes.
Would you like us to, what can we do? You need more of these shirts because you need to start this process. Is there a process? I mean, this is a great concept. How far are you going to go? Like, how much? What can we do to help? I don't know what else we can do for it. This is outstanding. Other than we all want those. We all want a flag right now, I think.
Yeah. Council.
Well, right now, what is happening is the town administrator is looking through the legal processes behind making a town flag. And then once he finds out what it takes, we then have to, we make a much more kind of neat version of the town flag with very exact measurements. And then we have to sell it to the townspeople, which is sort of difficult because I'm sure a lot of long-time, long-time inhabitants of Newmarket would prefer to just kind of stick the seal on it. The seal is a big part of Newmarket, and if we really want a town flag that is visually appealing and symbolizes our steps toward the future, it makes more sense for us to have a flag that follows the rules that the Vexillological Association has put out for us.
I think the board would be supportive of anything that you might need. I know your administrators and teachers are behind you, I'm sure. Every year when we do annual meeting time, this is the February deliberative session, and every year when you do that, there's a section of the meeting that is essentially any other business that should come before the body. They do that for both the town side and for the school side. I hope that the timeline will help get you there, so that when it comes time for other things that should be before the community, this can be something that maybe we can take 10 minutes and talk about, or longer, as the people in the gym are interested in it. Because that would be another great way to reach out to a lot of active members of the community who come out that day, or watch it on television, like they're all watching right now. Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. Let us know. Come back. Update us on, the next steps and what we can do to help.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, well, hopefully at the delivery, but maybe sooner. Thanks, guys. That's
Thank you.
Let's take just a couple minutes recess so that we can have a chance to see if we can't steal one of those T-shirts. you got things to do. You can.
I still have to get my report.
But when your report is done, you can jet at any time. Don't stick around any longer than you have time for. We appreciate you being here. Are we back on where?
Yes.
Chris has got us. He pays great attention. Chris, thank you. Okay, I just have to say, this is why, Pat, I've talked about having the kids come. I mean, it just changes the whole atmosphere. It does. The dynamic is so different. Amen.
But let me just piggyback on the first presentation. So Monday, November 23rd, 7 to 8 in the Newmarket Junior Senior High Library. Chris Placey will be speaking about the questions you can ask your kids when you're talking about drug use and prevention. So I just wanted to make sure, because they had to change the date. It was the 16th, it's now the 23rd, still the same time, 7 to 8. Hope to see you there.
Excellent.
Okay.
Nice segue then. Let's take a minute for public comment.
I'm Ingrid Alberg, and I'm from 44 Brialia Circle. And I just wanted to ask that you please try your very best to notice and notify the community of when you're having meetings. On Saturday, I chanced into one of you at the post office and found out that you had a budget meeting on Saturday morning. And I thought, I'm getting sloppy. I didn't read my e-newsletter very carefully. Walked back, because I walked to the post office, walked back by here, saw it was posted on the light board, but that's not something I look at when I drive by, because that's a dangerous intersection. I went home, I looked at Friday's newsletter, it was not posted in there. I looked at the Friday before, it was not posted in there. To have it only posted on the light board, which is not an easy thing to read when you're driving by, is not enough advance notice when it's an issue that really ought to have a lot of visibility, and all of you have a vested interest in making sure that people know about the financial issues surrounding the schools. So just again, a plea to have that publicity a little more timely and a little more accessible. Thanks.
Thank you.
And in case you're wondering, we haven't looked at it. There are the two that I printed to make sure that.
All right, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Excellent, thank you very much for that. Seeing none other, then we'll move on to Julia's report and then talk about all of the things coming up on our calendar. Take it away.
So the improv show for the high school is this Friday, tomorrow, from 7 to 9 in the high school auditorium. Middle school basketball started last Monday, and the high school's girls basketball team started this Monday, along with track and fields and cheerleading. Boys basketball starts next Monday. The honor roll was posted in Foster's, so if you want to look up anyone's name in particular, 293 of our students made the honor roll, and that's over half of our school. So
Wow.
That's great.
That's all I have.
We are scheduled to meet next. Our calendar in our book starts with December. What I can tell you is that the agenda made reference to a meeting upcoming on the 24th, which I do not believe will happen. It is very possible, very likely that meeting with the board and the superintendent search screening committee will be on December 1st, Tuesday. But I have yet to identify the space in which we might meet. So we've got to chase that down. But on the agenda tonight, November 24th is listed, and that is not going to happen on the 24th. But as you move into December, our next regular board meeting will be on Thursday the 3rd. A meeting again on the 17th of December. So there's no school in Newmarket, right? On Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week. Half day on Wednesday, or no school? School's closed on Wednesday, right? And then we're gonna go to school all day on the 23rd of December, but take Thursday and Friday off for the vacation. We'll be back in January, a meeting on the 7th and on the 21st of January. We have to have more conversation about other meetings because the search is ongoing for superintendent. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. That may drive some meetings, as will the public hearing and bond hearings if they become necessary in the next 45 days. So, anything else for calendar? Okay. In the spring, we took Smarter Balance for the first time. That wasn't a pilot or a test run or anything else. Dare I ask, how'd we do?
Amy's going to show you.
Great.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Ballantyne. I'm the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment here in the district. Yes, last spring, all of the students in grades 3 through 8 and our grade 11 students spent a lot of time, a lot of scheduling for this assessment. We call it a baseline assessment because it's the first time we've taken it. It's, if you remember, previous to this, we took what was called the New England Common Assessment, or NECAPS. All of that is part of the accountability piece for, well, it used to be No Child Left Behind, but I'm not sure what the federal government calls it this week, so it's part of that. We have to be accountable for our federal grant systems. But what is the newest part of this is a lot of that was based on Common Core strategies and skills, the college to career readiness skills in high school. All of the curriculum people, et cetera, superintendents, all felt that the 11th graders were the ones that, first off, we tested them the latest in the schedule, for the most part, in the state. So this year, they will not take Smarter Balanced. They will take the SATs. We felt if there was an assessment that was really worth their while, the SATs were the ones to focus on. That's the important one for school to continue for them. There is a license, Khan Academy is a, I guess you'd call it a web-based program that helps students with skills. When they take the SATs this spring, and I believe March 2nd is the day we have it scheduled for here, it will be during the week, it won't be on a Saturday. Every student will get those scores, and they're responsible for their own scores. They can plug those scores right into Khan Academy online, and Khan Academy will print them help where they did well, where can you, what can you change, how could you improve your score. That program is explicitly printed out for those students for those scores. So I'm excited that the juniors don't have to take Smarter Balanced. I think it's really hard for us to ask juniors to take that kind of assessment 3 weeks before they become seniors. Focus might not have been all there that day, and, I get it, that they were. But everyone else, including seniors, showed us their stuff. There was all kinds of harsh predictions out in the real world that, this is, not going to be good. And I kept saying it's one piece of information. You're in the classroom every day with students. You have other assessments. You know your students. So Amy, who is our data manager, and I looked at the scores. And the worst part is we were not allowed to let them out publicly. Parents received them in the mail. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Because I'll tell you about my nightmare from mailing them out. I had a dream that we put all the parent information in folders and in envelopes, brought them to the post office, and something happened and nobody got their scores and nobody dared tell me for like a week and a half. But that didn't happen. That didn't, I don't think. I'll probably get emails tomorrow. So anyway, back to every parent who had a student that tested got that individual score for that student. I thought it was a well-explained sheet on what that score means. And we've probably met with, maybe 5 parents throughout to further explain or help. And I've said very clearly, if you have a question, you can call me, you can call either one of the buildings. Everybody's on board with how to make it simple for everybody to just relax and understand the score. And the beauty of it is, I think, when we take them this spring again, we will have the scores on a more timely basis. It's my understanding that the assessment final numbers were held up because some districts chose to do it pen and paper. We didn't. We did it. We had enough Chromebooks. Everybody was on board. Thank you. So that won't be allowed this year. You have to take them online. You have to do the whole system. So the scores should come out much quicker. I guess that's the best way to put that. That's our goal anyway. So Amy's put together a brief PowerPoint for you to look at what we did. If you recall, Amy came back in the spring and said there were expectations based on who took the test as a pilot, what we had for data about how students perform on a baseline test, and the state came up with an anticipated score, what they thought people might score. And then you will see how we did in terms of that and how we did in terms of relationships to the whole state. So, Amy.
Do I need to stand near this?
Yeah, no. Point it in your general direction.
Well, I just don't want to get in the way of
Yeah.
the presentation either. So, as Pat was just saying, I came to see you very early in the spring to talk to you about our preparations for the Smarter Balance Assessment, all the things that went into it, and how students, teachers, staff, everybody in Newmarket was helping rally us towards taking this new test that was fully on computer. We knew it was going to take a lot of time. We knew it would take a lot of rigor on the kids' part. And we also knew that the scores that were anticipated were lower than we'd been seeing on our other types of tests. And what I said, as some of you might remember, was I really think that Newmarket's going to do better than this because we always do. So, without further ado, let me show you. If you look at the red columns, sorry. There it is. You get by that tone and that song that we did pretty well. If you look at the red column in the middle, the blue is what the state anticipated based on the pilot test from the 3 years that the pilots went on. The red in the middle is us, and then the yellow is the state. So as you can see, as we anticipated, Newmarket rocked the Smarter Balance test. These percentages you're seeing are the percentages of students that were proficient or better on the assessment.
So when we worked with NECAP, we had a 1 to 4 scale where we talked about,
Proficient with distinction, proficient,
partially proficient,
and substantially below proficient.
below proficient. Tell me, on the SBAC, on the Smarter Balanced, it's close to that.
It's still 4.
Right, it's still 4. Now the language is something like highly proficient,
It is.
near to proficient, or meets the standards.
Above
Meets the
standard,
standard.
above standard,
yeah.
at or near standard,
Yeah.
below standard. And that's only 3, but they put to the two, when they have the above standard, the at and near standard, and there's kind of an average in there with it. So though there's 4 levels, and this is the top 2 levels together.
Together, okay.
Yeah.
Same as we would have, again, we're not comparing with NECAP, it's a completely different environment now, but we can consider the scores similarly. That-
Yes.
But the top
The
2
ranking
categories,
is
the
similar.
rankings, those top 2 is what we're looking at here. Okay.
While we don't compare to NECAP, I look at it as we once did the NECAPs as a baseline, took the information from there and tried to figure out how to improve, and we did a great job of doing that. I think this is similar.
So is the 1 to 11, is that English and language arts? Is that what that is?
Yes, this is English and language arts, grades 3 through 11, and that's the mathematics 3
So it looks like on both of them, all of the grades except 11 beat the state average, right? Is that what I?
That is correct.
Yes. You look like you're going to ask a question.
Well,
Comment?
I'm curious what we think might be, if we have any sense yet, what's behind grade 11.
I think that's when we started working with Ash.
Now, grade 11 would have been last year's juniors.
Yeah, no.
And we test at the end of spring.
It's really a difficult time to ask juniors to be taking a test that doesn't have to do with, entrance to college or applying for jobs or,
I don't think,
different
I don't
schools.
think it's indicative of, a certain kind of attitude or anything. I just think 11th graders aren't used to that kind of assessment by then, because remember, we only test till 8th grade. It's a new kind of assessment.
Just for our own knowledge, are the tests given in certain windows across the state of time? Do you have to do it like in certain?
Yes.
Yes.
We started with 3rd grade.
Yes. Yeah, we went right up the grades, and that's basically the state timing was that you started with the lower grades and went out. And so the test window that included the 11th graders was the latest window. So unfortunately, that meant it was also the closest to, okay, well, I've taken the SAT this time, the ACT this time, and
It's 85
I bet I can get a better, I bet I can get a better score if I take it right at the end of the school year. So it is a very difficult time to be asking the juniors to be doing this intensive assessment on top of those assessments.
Let me ask another element. So we moved away from the Smarter Balanced is intended to test the standards that we have now adopted, which are essentially grounded in the Common Core state standards.
Yes.
College
and career
readiness, right?
Mhm.
We've been working on that for some number of years,
Mhm.
moving forward with that. But is it fair to say that students in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 maybe have benefited more from exposure to that at younger grades, and that the same can't be said for juniors last spring? They're being tested against a standard that has been so new at the upper grades, of the secondary grades, that they don't have the same basis in some of those standards, or is that not necessarily?
I tend not to try to think of it that way, but I get, for example, in science, they're doing next generation science. Not that science was on this, but, they do have, social studies doesn't have.
But the whole state got their butts kicked on inquiry because nobody does inquiry the way that, or not well enough, the way that the state's testing it, right?
It's yes. Well, they don't test on next generation science standards. We had that conversation here, and I felt strongly that next generation science were more about applying skills to content, the inquiry model. So do we have some work to do? Yes, but I think staff knows that.
Yeah.
I think here, looking at the testing window, looking at it's a new test, there could be any number of factors. It was, like you said, it was 85 degrees. And when you test a whole school, week after week after week, somebody's testing, it changes kind of the day's schedule, You're aware that there are 45 people in 2 rooms, 3 rooms, focusing on this.
So this is, like, as you said, a baseline. Boy, the state really got it wrong on the English language arts estimates, huh? They were off by more than 50% for most of it.
I like to think that we really got it right.
You got it right. So what this will do is really, well, I guess for 11th graders it won't matter because they're taking the SAT, so it's not apples to apples. But going forward, we'll be able to sort of use this to see where we're at.
We'll look at the longitudinal
Yep.
piece as we go out, in terms of the first time we took it, and now let's say they're 4th graders this year, we'll see how they did it.
So what's the result of all of this? Does this change the way we do things?
Absolutely, and if I can continue with this, I'll
Sorry.
show you how. Oh, sorry.
She likes music.
I thought that was gone. I forgot. Well, first of all, I did want to show you, for those of you that didn't receive one of these at home, this is what the report looks like. And I have some paper versions.
Do you want me to pass those out while you talk? Each one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to give you an idea, these, I like the way they put these reports together. They're very simple to read, and I actually think the piece that went out with them was more complicated, to explain it was more complicated than, that's okay. Yep. Than this piece. So it starts off right up into the corner here explaining the different performance levels that are shown on the report. And then the student's performance, and it explains the 4 levels in a brief paragraph. And then the claims for the subject area, and this one I think I pulled an ELA. Oh no, that's a math one. The one you have is an ELA. It shows the different claim areas that go into each score.
If you look at the performance levels, those are about the expectations that a child would be expected to meet at each of those proficiency levels. The claims have more to do about general specifics in terms of math objectives or English language arts objectives.
And if you don't have questions about this, I can show you more of how that.
Keep going, yeah.
And I can go backwards if. So this is the layout, and I know this looks really complicated. And the reason I let it stay looking complicated because it gives you the overall in-depth nature of how this whole program was set up. So you have an overall claim, and it's pretty basic. It's going to show that students are ready for their college and career-ready standards. The claims are the different areas within the subject. So this happens to be the math one. So these are the areas of math that are seen as the key areas that students need to make sure that they achieve standards in. It's then broken down into targets. And though I have, in this graph, assigned 3 targets for each, there could be anywhere from 2 to maybe 10 targets, depending on the concept or the claim that it goes along with. It then branches into the college and career-ready standards. And based on that, these are the things that we're making sure we're teaching the kids. So if we're reaching all of our students with all of the standards that apply to them in the grade levels, then it's going to spread back into the claims, and they should be able to do well with the test. Now, as you said, we've only been using the Common Core standards for a few years. It's given us a chance to really dig into them and to look at our curriculum and make sure we're covering all those standards. Taking the Smarter Balance assessment this past year gave us an idea of the increased rigor that our kids are really expected to have. And I think we really did well based on that.
The state standard to the far right here, is it, can I say that is somewhat close to the I can statements that
Yes.
I've had experience with? This is the I can count to 100 by tens?
Yes.
That kind of, okay. Thank you.
And when you think about the standard-based report cards that I talked to you about last time I was here.
Right.
So those would be those standards as well.
Perfect.
Same thing for English language arts. 4 general claim areas that spread into targets that spread into the standards. And when I was at the latest meeting that helped explain some of the things that we're going to come out with the results for the assessment, we were looking for a way to see what are the specific target, specific standards. And they gave us this website. Oops, sorry, it's flying around on this. And I just wanted to give you an idea of how many targets and how many standards are attached to each one. This is one claim in ELA. And there's 3 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets. So as you can see, it's a very complex system that really touches on many different areas so that all of the standards are covered. So what does this mean for us as the teachers? It means that we can look at each student's individual scores. Okay, this is what it looks like when we go into the Department of Education data system, bring up a student, and click on either subject, whether it be math or English language arts. Each teacher can look at their individual students and see how they did in each claim, then into the different targets. And these targets all are about writing. So we can look at that student's writing results and see what are the strengths and what are the things that we could build on for each individual student in English language arts and in math.
So right away, we start to look at what are the strengths that we all had in writing in your group, what are the weaknesses you had, and you start to reform what your instruction looks like. Some of that will iron out as we go up the chain and realize the gap is here, and maybe we teach double in one area and we can back away from that. As students climb up the ladder, I think you'll see some of those gaps disappear. But it's certainly good information in terms of differentiation. You can group students differently based on, and this isn't the only piece we use, I want to make that clear, but it's more information than we've ever gotten from an assessment. But it also shows up in the classroom. If you never saw that kind of results, you have to ask yourself some questions as an instructor. Why, But I think that's what happens to our teachers here. We always ask, we always reflect. Why did that work that way? What do I need to change to improve? What do I keep doing because it seems to be working well? We have to remember that part. If it's working well, don't change it.
This might help you tailor, I guess, plans to kids' strengths or weaknesses versus just a one-size-fits-all. I mean, isn't that really part of this whole philosophy?
Yes. It certainly adds to the personalized learning that we aim for.
And as Pat was saying, I mean, this is one piece, and this was our baseline year. So we take these results and we look at the other assessments that we have, ones that we've been doing a lot longer, like the Northwest assessment, which is similar but not quite as complex. Also a computer-generated assessment. We have our district assessments that we have in math and reading that we also pull together. We pull our formative assessments that the teachers are developing within the classrooms and their knowledge of each and individual student. So we have a lot of things to pull from, but having some of this more detailed information is very helpful, especially when we've now developed the standards-based report cards where we can match up what standards we're measuring on the report card to help see how our students are doing along with what we're seeing on these standard-based assessments.
Comment about it being an adaptive test and how that maybe compares to what our students have done in the past.
The Northwest assessment is
also
an adaptive test. So it was something, I'm really glad it was something that they were used to taking because the adaptive nature can really be a struggle. Sometimes they get a little discouraged because they're doing well, it gets harder.
Right.
And it's like, oh no. But so they'd had that happen before. So I think it's a great way to be able to measure their abilities when it's adaptive like that, because then if they miss a couple of them, it drops down so that it doesn't stay. And we tell them that up front when they're taking the assessment. Don't forget that, you're going to see different things happen. Sometimes they're going to be really hard. Sometimes they might seem easier.
Okay.
I have something.
Please.
Amy, could you go back to the first chart? I just want to, and Pat can correct me if I'm wrong.
This one?
Yes. Pat and I heard a presentation about the SATs at a commissioners' conference, and 5 or 6 weeks ago, and the gentleman from the SAT scoring used the word practice. And he made a good point, I thought, in that he claimed that, if you take music lessons and you're going to become a good musician, you've got to practice. If you're going to be an athlete, you go to practice. If you're going to do things, you get better with practice. And we pointed out that we would like to know more about 11th grade, but Pat has said that this March, our 11th graders will not be taking this test, but will be taking the SAT. And then Pat said, the kids can plug their scores into this software package, which is brand new and gives more results to kids than they've ever got. And the kids have to do it, and it has to be theirs, and it's their personal, because they have to code it, and they can get information back from Khan Academy so that they can practice and get better at taking the test. And as from somebody leading the district, Pat and I are certainly going to have conversations about how we can help our kids take advantage of that if they want to. Kids have goals. Kids know the ranges of what college you're looking for SAT scores. And this is, and if you're not familiar with Khan Academy, we probably should introduce it at another meeting, but it is one world, one high-quality education online.
It's free.
And it's free for the whole world, and there's a book written by Salman Khan that's very good. And I think somehow we need to communicate that with kids, because I know, based on what we saw here tonight, that we have some go-getters in this stuff, and if we give the kids the information, and if we give the kids the support to get started, I think they'll take it, because some of them may have goals that they want to reach with their SAT scores, and they're the ones taking the test. And I think they can do it for themselves should they so choose to do that. And I think that's an exciting feature for that. And I think we can at least make the kids aware of it. I mean, we're not going to be doing the homework for them. We're not going to be taking the test for them. We're not going to be doing anything. But I think that's a real good feature with this new thing. So have I got the dates right?
Yeah, I've got the date right,
And
yes.
next year, it's going to be March 2nd. It's going to be the first time the 11th graders are taking the SATs. They'll have a free mechanism at which to practice if they so choose.
And it's their choice.
And we hope that they will,
I'm sure between the administration and the guidance office at the high school, that will be clearly pointed out to them. But
Yep.
yes,
Yep, and at 11th grade, they're in charge of their learning anyways.
that's right. Right, Julia?
But will parents will they get the information as well, or are you going to give it?
No, there'll be lots of information.
Yeah, parents will get information, sure.
Says the 11th grade parent.
And I'm sure with all the media stuff we've got available, if the word gets out that I take the SAT in March, and let's say I took it in June, and I did much better because I did the Khan Academy, I think
That'll spread.
I really paid attention. I mean, that'll spread.
It does.
But I think that's and I know we're not going to overlook that, but that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy about the SAT piece, and especially that portion of it.
Yes.
Maybe I'm overselling it, but I don't mean to.
No, that was the commissioner made that clear. That was a really big part of why the state looked at replacing their work with the Smarter Balanced as 11th graders with the SAT.
Mhm. And there's nothing wrong with practice, is what we heard.
No, she was very clear about that.
This is very high level, and the numbers look really good, and I appreciate the presentation, especially given that this is a baseline year. But can I be Debbie Downer for just 30 seconds and say, in the most proactive and supportive way, everything that we can continue to do, we want to continue to do, because as I look at the scale, for instance, on the math, we're running at a clip that says about half our kids are proficient. And although it would be an unreasonable expectation to say 100% are really going to be proficient, because it may not be attainable in near term, those numbers would be even more compelling and would grow pride if they were in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, you know what I mean, as opposed to, but again, this is a baseline, and we'll see what we do with each year that we take, but, all I can say is, again, let the school board know how we can help, because, we want to continue to see those scores climb and student proficiency, and this is one day. I'll temper
It's
that.
one
because
piece of the
it's one-
snapshot.
It's one snapshot, it's one metric, it's one assessment. Not every child rises to the assessment the same way, on the same day, or in the same manner, even day by day. So, anyway, anything else that you guys want to give us as a takeaway?
Well, I want to say that
Yeah.
another important part of this being a baseline is, not only was this new to our students, but this was new to all of our teachers as well.
Yeah.
And though I think our district did an excellent job making sure that everybody practiced, because there is a practice test available, and teachers went on and showed it to the kids and everything, I think just knowing what's coming, after experiencing the whole thing, I think that it's really going to be helpful and will automatically help our kids, be ready for the rigor that's in front of them.
And make comments like come back to us. One of the grumblings I heard was that for some of the early grades who started the assessment early in the spring, there was an entire quarter
Yeah.
or trimester. There was a
Long time.
There was a significant amount of instruction left in the year. If the assessment tests on all of the standards, we're missing a chunk of the year of instruction, and that could be an issue. I don't know if the test builds that in and accommodates that, but as we look at this and we move, forward year over year, if that's a problem, and it helps to have the board, for instance, chime in and say, hey, this ought to be assessing the first 2/3 of the assessment. We need to talk about how this device, how this tool really works, and if it works fairly for those that start taking it in April, as much as it does for those who don't end up taking it until the end of May.
I think one of the things we have to remember that, again, it is a baseline, and I think the fact that so many, a certain percentage of school districts were allowed to use the pencil and paper version, that made that window they wanted to be sure, because what they did was they uploaded that level of tests to the site. And then when that window closed, then they uploaded the next group. So they had to make sure that everybody that was in grades, let's say 3 and 4, got that opportunity to finish the test. So, I think, again, like we're going to learn from the first time, they're going to learn. I mean, I'm sure Scott Manty doesn't like to answer his phone or answer his email right now.
Right now, I'm sure he doesn't.
Yeah, he's probably in hiding, but he did a great job of guiding us through it. He really did. I have one more point of conversation, then I'll close for the night. One of the pieces that we use for assessment is called Northwest Evaluation. NWA was the first adaptive test we tried. I think it's almost 10 years now. We have a lot of information that we glean from it, and I'm hoping to put another piece in next year that will give us even more valuable information that will correlate with our standards. But the piece I want to mention tonight was Amy was selected to speak at the Eastern Conference in March in Washington, D.C.
Hey, thank you.
And I gave her the time off to do it.
That's good.
Thank you.
Congrats. Thank you.
Would you like these back, Amy?
No, you can have those. You'll see that there's no name on them. So I did that so that you could keep them if you'd like.
Keep up the good work. Thank you for.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting tonight. Okay. Are there committee reports other than those that we'll talk about that we should have before us? I'm trying to think. The standing ones we'll talk about in a moment. I wasn't sure if there'd been other committees that met. Part of what we'll do next then is budget. That speaks to the budget committee because we need to, the intent is to have our budget to them on Monday for them to begin to consider and deliberate in anticipation of reviewing it starting in December. Or maybe it's the 30th. We had a revised packet delivered to us via email. It's printed out and with us tonight. If I could have you turn to page 7. Here's what I would ask. I don't know how much more conversation the board wants to have. There were some things that we asked about and explored when we met over the last couple of meetings. Mr. Andruski was with us earlier. He made reference to the e-book initiative and others. We asked about graduation, costs related to, and we got some information via email. I'm looking for consensus. I think this is a good effort. I'd like to move it forward. I think that some of those smaller items we could address. I think we can address them regardless of whether we change this or not. I think remember that this budget is for July 1 of 16 to June of 17. It's a crystal ball against the future, and I think that there's reasonably room to breathe in here and move things around. So as we hear more about some of these priorities, I think we can address them without having to tick this number up anymore. If you're agreeable to that, then let me talk to you about the numbers that we could move forward now with a vote. If the board's got anything they want to dig into and have more conversation about, though, then let's stop and do that first. Anybody got anything that they want to chase?
I'm in good shape.
Okay. Then, in Christine's absence, let me just say this. The big, bold stuff that she put on page 7 to help us out, what she spent time going through with us is the operating budget of 16,062,526. Below that, you see the food service fund at 335,400 and federal grants at 450,000. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, the food service fund is essentially a self-sustaining program. We sell lunches, and we get federal reimbursement for meals served. For all meals served, there's a very nominal reimbursement, and then for those that are applied for and successfully processed as free or reduced lunch, there are greater reimbursements from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So we add that number in after the fact. There are no local tax dollars that fund food service fund. Likewise, the federal grants is what we call a gross appropriation. We don't know for sure that there will be exactly 450,000 worth of Fed funds that we're approved for and are able to spend, but Fed funds are spent and reimbursed in equal amounts. You put an application, there's an allocation, you get 100,000, you put in an application for how you'd like to spend 100,000, they approve your application, you proceed to spend 100,000. As you do, you ask for reimbursement, and if you spend 99,000, you are reimbursed 99,000. It's an in and an out, it's a wash. And again, it's not tax impact, right? So having been through the details of the 16 million operating budget and understanding that it's a gross appropriation not related to taxes in food service and Fed funds, I would seek a motion to accept the proposal of 16,847,926 so that the administration can prepare the budget books and move them to the budget committee. $16,847,926, which is 0.5% lower than the current budget. It's actually 82,000 and a half less than the budget we have today.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Kennison, a second from Ms. Shelton. Any discussion? All those in favor of the budget proposed for fiscal year 16-17 of 16,847,926, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. I think what I'd like to do is, we're going to send this thing along, but when Christine's back, she'll spend a minute and she'll walk us through the default budget, which is difference of another, it's a 47,000 higher than what we're proposing. She'll go ahead and send this out and let the budget committee have it, but I'm gonna ask us to wait on the default. Let me just make sure, one more thing, I guess. If you go into the packet, the timeline was in here. And the superintendent and I had talked about making sure that we shared the timeline with us again, to make sure everybody knows what the budget process does. And the default budget conversation kind of ties in. So this is the budget development schedule that was right after the calendar. So in a municipal budget community like we have, when we go to the ballot, or when we go to the deliberative session, the number that goes on the ballot is the number that the budget committee puts there, because that's the statute that this community has enacted for that purpose. So we prepare a budget, send it to the budget committee, they'll tweak it, do whatever they need to with it, they move it to the ballot. The default budget, which is the fail-safe, so if the budget doesn't pass, we get the default. The default budget is something that we have to put forward. And it's essentially the prior year, plus or minus any contractual or legal obligations. You're supposed to take out one-time things. So if you had budgeted to buy a truck, that doesn't stay in the default. That's a one-time expense that comes out. Otherwise, it's the contracts you have with your, with your staff. It's the union agreement that you have, et cetera. And then all other things are essentially the prior year. So I remind you of that because that default budget is the number we have to set, and it'll literally go on the ballot as we set it. That's why I think we'll wait and have a conversation when Christine can walk us through what that default is. Otherwise, I think we're set, with that vote, we're set to empower her to move forward and make this available to the budget committee. Any questions about the budget count? Anything else, Mike, that you wanted
Nope,
to
I think that's.
pinpoint in that?
We will get information. We'll be talking about this at our budget hearing.
Yep.
We'll have information back. There's an opportunity to make adjustments one way or the other. It's not a final deal today.
Right.
For the board.
Okay. Moving right along then. Al Zink's not with us tonight, but I did talk to him. Mike, let me know if I don't do it justice, but with regard to the superintendent search, Al is very pleased, remarkably pleased. I mean, he just has said multiple times how pleased he is with the performance of the screening committee, that group and the work that they've done, and is very pleased with the outcome in terms of the candidate pool that he believes that the committee will present to the board. He was not specific about the number of candidates, only that it has been a successful process. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the calendar, we had anticipated a meeting next Tuesday, the 24th. Looks like we're going to push that off. But that next meeting with regard to search is intended as an opportunity for Dr. Burke, Carolyn Burke, and Al, and the screening committee to come and meet with the board in a public way to remind us or update us on the process they've been through to get us where we are, and then to announce to us the candidate pool they're moving forward for our consideration. And then after that, everybody can go home and we'll sit with Carolyn Burke and have some training on how to conduct effective interviews of those candidates moving forward. I think what's still in play, what we still have to contemplate is what's the process that we're going to pursue as a board with our community in terms of interviews. I think when Dr. Benedictus had been with us way back, he talked about site visits and/or targeted calling into communities of some finalists. We need to talk about that when we do it. I know that we want to have the candidates, the finalists, at least come and be among us, in and out of the schools, meeting with community groups, et cetera, doing a day of visit. We need to schedule and talk about that, and I don't have any sense of the dates right now because December's starting to get real busy with stuff, so.
Yes.
I think we have to open our minds to the possibility that if we can as a board identify a small number of finalists, even if we hold through the holidays and come back in January to do some of that groundwork with our community, that might not be bad. I'm not speaking for Al or his effort, but I'm getting the sense that we're going to be very pleased with the results that we're getting, but we're also running out of time to squeeze stuff in before Christmas. So, anything else about the search? Is that?
That's what he told me.
All right,
So
great.
it's good stuff.
Good. That's really exciting because we've had so many things going, not the least of which is facilities. Mr. Kennison.
Yeah, so we were originally going to meet last night, but we're still preparing some summaries of meetings with, Banwell's meetings with staff down at the elementary school, and they finished up some additional drawings. I moved it till that meeting until this Monday at 7 o'clock. It'll be in the auditorium. It'll be on Channel 13 again. Just wanted to make sure the committee had enough time to digest all that stuff and think about it, and so they could ask questions and participate. So on Monday, we'll go over 3 additional conceptual drawings, and I emphasize the conceptual part. Again, bear with us. We need to go through this process to make sure we're doing our due diligence and we're considering plausible designs. We're also going to discuss Banwell put together, in combination with Dr. Joyce's recent report, in the staff interviews at both schools, a sort of a program overview, which is sort of the foundation for each of their conceptual designs. You know, the space needs, essentially. I'm going to put up all of those documents probably tomorrow. I've been running with my hair on fire, so people can get those and look at them before the meeting, including the drawings as well. We're looking forward to that, and just so people can look ahead, I think it's December 2nd that we're looking to have, just after we meet with Banwell. We've been doing so much stuff, I thought it was time to sort of catch up with ourselves and take stock a little bit. We'll also be meeting with Jim Gove here in town, who marked the wetlands on the Carpenter property. He's going to come in and give us an explanation of, you know, where the wetlands are on the drawing, what it means. A lot of this wetlands issues can be complex, but we're going to have Jim come in. He's graciously agreed to do that and sort of debrief us on what those issues may be, or not be. So that's just looking ahead on December 2nd. And that's it for facilities.
Any interest in attending that meeting?
I might.
I'll be at the
Try
budget.
This is the second.
Yeah.
All I was going to throw out is, for formality and legality's sake,
I could be there.
anywhere, you don't have to. I want to make sure we post it as a board meeting, because when he's there alone and there's one, and if one of us shows up and there's 2, no big deal. If 4 or 5 of us show up that night, it should be posted. Not that we will engage in conversation as a board or make any decisions, but again, in the spirit of trying to follow public meeting laws.
I will just follow your lead on what you think.
If folks think they are, just throw the flag, maybe even just mention it to Penny.
Okay.
By the first of that week, so that Penny could maybe post it as a board
7
meeting.
o'clock that night, Mike.
It is it's 7 o'clock this Monday, 6:30 on December 2nd.
Okay.
Some of that stuff you're talking about might be of interest to board members, and
I think it will be. Actually, if I may add just one more thing, at the last meeting, the board discussed the concept of a warrant article in March for design services only, in order to keep things going, and I thought there was consensus among the board that may be a good idea. I have broached that concept with Banwell to have them thinking about how we may structure that. And I'm also reserve some time for the facility committee, because we have so many smart people on there, and to get their input, they may come up with ideas or feedback or suggestions that could help us out on structuring it or wording it. So that'll be a part of them.
I saw that in your email that you sent out your agenda. That's why I was thinking we might, multiples of us show up, so. Okay.
Well, I've gone to most of them, so if anybody else wants to go, they can. If not, I'm happy to go.
Hey, my hat's off to Chris Williams, the group, and the work that's being done to record them. I've been able to watch them all off YouTube, and it's nice to be able to sit and do that, and walk through it and pause it when I need to, and you can't do that, while you're there. There's no pause button on Mike Kennison, I haven't, it's.
Right.
So,
Right.
perfect.
That's it.
Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
I would, I mention it for public consumption, but it's more for the board. The letter that was there from the joint board chair down at SAU 16 and Superintendent Mike Morgan invites us as board members to join them. Some number of years ago, SAU 16 started, SAU 16, remember, has 7 school districts. There's 33 school board members, and they are representative of 6 communities in and around Exeter. And I guess I would just offer up this. They're inviting all of the local legislative leaders, as well as Executive Councilor Sununu and Governor Hassan, to attend that night. I don't know that either of those positions has been represented in the past, but they're going to gather Monday night. We've got now a couple of meetings, Budget Committee, Facilities. So those, maybe one of, I might take a swing, but just so that folks understand what we're participating in. They've talked about the growing rates of mandatory contributions to the retirement system, the unavailability of building aid, the inconsistent distribution of catastrophic aid, the rising costs of health insurance, more specifically, the growing costs associated with mandated special ed services, the concerns about funding of the career and technical ed down at SST, all of these things, including just pervasive downshifting of costs to the local level, lead that group to ask each year for as many of their area legislators as possible to come together to have a conversation about what our concerns are and how they might be addressed in Concord. So that's Monday night at 7:30 at Exeter High School. And I appreciate the invitation coming from SAU 16 each year so that we can join in that. Next up then, under personnel, we have a request for an extended leave of absence. The letter is in your packet. It's from a member of the senior high staff who has been on leave, intended to return on the 30th of November. Excuse me. If it seems a little bit squinky, there's no black there. They actually used whiteout. They redacted some elements of the letter that spoke to some very personal elements that drove this decision to request an extended leave of absence, including leave without pay for the remainder of the year. It's important that the board act in this regard to preserve the contractual rights of the individual, because it's a leave without pay. So I would seek a motion of the board to grant this extended leave without pay for Claudette Moran. Thank you.
I so moved.
Second.
And we wish her, I don't want to say luck, but the best.
I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison, to grant the leave. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're unanimous. In the packet, we have the minutes from November 5th, public and non-public. I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Anybody see any changes in there, any amendments we should make?
Do you want to talk about the NCEP dinner or the cocktail hour or however we want to call it?
How'd that go?
Newmarket Eats. It
was awesome, wasn't it? I saw pictures, I've heard stories. I was sitting just like this on Cameron Hampton, and it is does not compare.
No.
We were having more fun.
I'm glad you guys.
It was good.
Yeah, I hope they do it again next year because it really was fun.
Great event.
I ran into a member of that group down at Crackskills, and I said something about somebody that was in the conversation said, "Oh, that's great. I hear you might be willing to do it next year." And I said, "Or maybe sooner." All I heard was, "If you want it sooner, you better do it yourself," because there was a lot of work that went into that, and so I appreciate everything that they did. That's
and
great.
You wouldn't know, like I heard the stories afterwards. You wouldn't know that they were scrambling and to pull it all together. It looked like butter.
Just smooth, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they got twice as many as they planned.
There's 200 people.
Wow.
And I will tell you,
outstanding.
the food was delicious. That was good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's great.
And thank you to all the restaurants.
Yes, thank you. Oh, to everyone. Wasn't it stated that essentially every eatery
Yes.
in the community was participating that night? That's great. To the minutes of of November 5th, I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison. Any comments, adjustments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're unanimous. Somewhere before us are the manifests to be voted tonight?
Yes.
Thank you.
I get the privilege of reading the manifests again. I move that we accept the payroll manifest total amount. Do I do them separately or?
You can combine them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Total of all manifests for 11/20/15, $413,400.76.
I need a second.
Give it to Jim.
Need a second? Second?
I'm sorry.
Excellent. Motion from Ms. Shelton, second from Mr. Kennison. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. 8:37. We want to go home?
Are we gonna go into non-public?
Only if you guys think we need it. I don't know that we've got anything else for tonight.
To the Christmas tree thing? Do we
Oh, the
wanna-
Christmas tree,
Other
yeah.
business? Do we want to briefly talk about that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? Sure, we can, I'm sorry, I skipped that under correspondence. So essentially, it's at your table. There has been a request made, I think we've had some loose conversation in passing, the members of the board. The request has been made by a Cub Scout pack here in town to, they seek to run a fundraiser, which would include, or essentially would wrap itself around collecting Christmas trees and having a quote-unquote Christmas tree campfire. And they would like to do so on the former Carpenter property that we've just finished clearing and making safe. They do express that part of their program is a program they call Leave No Trace. Teaches scouts to leave the outdoors in the same or better state as they found it. And so they're interested in using that lot. I didn't invite them, we didn't put them on the agenda or bring them tonight because some of the conversation seemed to run in the direction of, we don't think that that's appropriate use maybe of the property right now.
Right.
Maybe not ever, because of some of the elements of it. But any comments or thoughts?
No, I mean, just obviously the aim is good. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt, and so, that's that much is clear. I think what I would suggest is that, we had some concerns, with liability, with safety. It's in a residential area. There could be traffic issues, there could be mud at that time of year, all sorts of things. But I would suggest that we have Dr. Martin call Mr. Cronin to hear from him first, and then, maybe
Okay.
there's something we don't know, and at least we want to reach out and communicate.
Pleased to do that.
Thank you.
Anything else for our agenda this evening, then? I seek a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
On a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We are out at 8:39.
Have we ever been out this early?
I don't think so.